This is the Atlantic Ocean. It is not the Pacific. I always touch the Pacific. Am I gonna be able to touch the Atlantic Ocean this time? I always touch the Pacific Ocean. I have never touched. Look at Mom, Leo is dying. Leo's dying of hunger.
Oh, important notice.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, if you want to come to Massachusetts,
Boston.
you know I lost my bag. Yeah,
You need to take
Nah.
it. You need to
Take the camera away. Take the camera away. Okay, again.
And it's cold.
Important notice.
Okay.
If you want important notice, if you want to come to Massachusetts, the state, you have to have a COVID test, and you have to come out negative because if the police stop you, and if you look really touristic-y,
Which we're gonna probably.
which you're gonna probably look like, they will stop you. And if you don't have a test within 3 days of coming here, you'll get fined $500 per day that you have been here.
Holy guacamole.
So get tested, even if they don't ask you, because no one asked us, but the police might.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. We're all negative. Well, I still don't know. But
Oh my god!
I get tested every single week
Oh, it's a popper dog.
for my nose. I know. I cannot film the dog.
You can film the dog.
I cannot film the dog because if I film the dog, I have to film the people. See? The people are in it.
It's that dog.
It's a dog.
That dog. It's a Boston dog. Weird. It freaks me out. That dog lives here.
I tell Kelly, Kathy, imagine we see somebody dying in the thing like in the
In the
movies.
Coast Guard. So fucking weird. Look at that.
Maybe they're hot. Okay, gotta go.
Hi.
Bye.
We're taking the little trolley around Boston. Leo woke up late.
Right now, it looks like you may have a private tour. See if you pick up anybody else along.
Clang, clang, clang with the trolley.
Oh my
Ding,
god.
ding, ding with the bell. Sing, sing, sing when my heart sings. From the moment I saw it, I fell.
Nothing better than a little bit of Judy Garland to stop your trolley, right? That was from a movie named Meet Me at St. Louis. So we're going to head into the neighborhood straight ahead called the North End. This is the oldest residential neighborhood in the city. So this dates back to 1630. That was the year Boston was settled by a group of people from England called the Puritans. They wanted to purify the Church of England. They weren't too successful, so they came to America instead. The neighborhood in front of us is where they lived. In the 1800s, it became the Irish neighborhood with thousands of Irish immigrants. And in the early 1900s, it became the Italian neighborhood, which is what it is today. It's called the park on the right, the Christopher Columbus Park, named after the famous Italian navigator. There's a separate little rose garden there on your right, 104 rose bushes in that rose garden. And they're there to remember If you don't know the name, she was the matriarch of the Kennedy clan. She was mother of JFK and all of his siblings. And the reason that little garden is there, Rose Kennedy was born 2 blocks to your left, July 22nd, 1890. And if you wonder how old she may have been when she passed away, well, there was 1 rose bush in that garden for every year of her life. She lived to be 104. She was really quite the character, 104 years old when she passed. Kind of natural for Rose Kennedy to have a bunch of kids that were politicians because she herself was the daughter of a politician. Her father was John Fitzgerald. He was mayor of Boston for a time. Now, where Rose Kennedy was born was just a couple blocks down from the Paul Revere house. Paul Revere, famous man in American history, especially in Boston history. The house that he lived in was built in 1680, which makes it the oldest wooden building in downtown Boston today. Although he didn't move into it until 90 years later, so it was already a fixer upper. He moved in 1770. And he lived in that house with his wife, Sarah Horn, with whom he had 8 children. Unfortunately for Sarah, she passed away just a few months after giving birth to John and Ray. Paul was so upset, he waited 5 whole months before he married again.
Oh.
That's what they did in those days. Remarry quickly, you get a mother with the kids, right? Yeah, 8 kids to take care.
Oh.
So he married the second wife, Rachel Walker. And I gotta tell you, Rachel Walker had to be a saint. Not only did she take care of the first 8 kids, Paul and Rachel together had 8 more.
Oh, wow.
16 children for Paul Revere. He was a busy man to support all these kids. He was a talented craftsman and artisan. He was a silversmith, goldsmith, coppersmith, pewtersmith, part-time dentist, bell caster, bell ringer. He's most famous for being one of the couriers for the Sons of Liberty. His famous midnight ride was played on April 18, 1775. Now, before Paul Revere or anyone else jumped on a horse, there was a warning signal placed at the steeple of the Old North Church. It would be history, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, I am the opposite shore shall be. That's how the phone goes anyway. We're going to slow down a little bit so you can look up the street on your left. You'll see the white steeple up there. That is the Old North Church. This is where those 2 famous lands took place, April 18, 1775. The lands were left there to warn us about the British advance on Lexington and Concord. What was going on at this point in time? The British walked 294 steps. One last view of the Old North Church. If you look across the harbor on your right above the trees, you can see the white steeple over there still. And you can see why it was such a great place to put a warning beacon. I mean, that steeple would have been the tallest thing on the horizon in 1775. So a great place to put a warning beacon about the British advance. Stop number 3 is the next stop. This is the stop for USS Constitution, Constitution Museum, Charlestown, New York. Now, the Constitution and the museum are both closed today. The museum is open Thursday through Sunday, and the ship is open Friday through Sunday. You can see the ship here to your right through the gate that says USS Constitution. This is the oldest commissioned warship afloat in the world. Built in Boston in 1797, that beautiful vessel has never lost a battle. And this is stop number 3. Since it's just the 4 of us, if anybody wants to walk over to the gate and take a quick picture, you're welcome to do so.
Wait a bit. The oldest ship that is in the surface, right, Leo?
Yeah. It's still in service.
That is still in service since... For yourself right there, Leo. Nomás que está cerrado, no podemos ir a verlo. Nice. Back to the troll. ¿Qué tiene abajo? Hubiera sido Cayel y hubiera corrido.
Nicknamed during the War of 1812. It was in a battle right off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, so not far from here. It was in a battle with the British ship, HMS Guerriere. Sank the Guerriere in only 35 minutes. Pretty quick battle. So as they're pulling some of the British sailors out of the water, one of them supposedly yelled out, "Huzzah! Her sides must be made of iron." And he said that because for 35 minutes he saw the cannonballs from his ship just bouncing right off the sides of the Constitution. The USS Constitution is not iron. That ship is solid wood. Measures about 17 to 21 inches thick. It's Georgia live oak. It does have a thin layer of copper on the hull, and that copper was supplied by Paul Revere. So just keep in mind all the things that guy did, Paul Revere, that did. You're going to see the Bunker Hill Monument once again. It'll be just up ahead to your right. The Battle of Bunker Hill happened right where this beautiful monument sits, and that happened June 17, 1775. Now this would have happened just 2 months after Paul Revere's midnight ride. And where you see the monument, that is exactly where the battle took place. The Battle of Bunker Hill. Unfortunately, that hill is not Bunker Hill. That hill back there is Breeze Hill. And that is where the Battle of Bunker Hill took place. And I know what you're thinking, like, what's going on with the city? Everyone's crazy. The streets don't make any sense. Battle. I know what you're thinking. Well, there is a Bunker Hill. There is, just a little further north. And originally the colonial troops they had planned on fortifying Bunker Hill. So what had happened was, after Paul Revere's midnight ride, for the next 2 months, the colonial militia had been summoned from all over New England. So for 2 months, guys are coming in from all the New England area. Most of these guys weren't from Boston, they didn't know one from the other. To make matters worse, the day before the battle, the militia, the commanding officers, pretty much changed their mind. They were planning on fortifying Bunker Hill. There's a lot of it. Why did they strategically better to fortify Breeze Hill? And they did pretty much overnight put up a fort next day to the battle. Well, they forgot to tell the guys that were fighting. They all thought they were on Bunker Hill, and they just kept calling it the Battle of Bunker Hill. So not only was it the Battle of Breeze Hill, it was also a battle that we lost. The British won the hill. Which, as a kid growing up here, I was always amazed at that. Like, why did we talk about the Battle of the Lost? But there is a reason for it. It is considered a morale victory. So around here, they call it a morale victory because although we did lose the hill, the British won the hill, but at a huge price. They lost over 1,000 men, which was double the total Russell. Russell only lost about 500. So it was a very important event right at the very beginning of the American Revolution. And we also remember the Battle of Bunker Hill with the London City Hall on June 17th, Bunker Hill Night. It's one of the 3 extra holidays that we got here. The bridge off to your right with the cable coming down, that is to be the widest cable-stayed bridge in the world. The bridge has 10 lanes of traffic, designed by a Swiss architect named Christian Bett. When he came here to design the bridge, he fell in love with all the history that was so close by, so he decided he was going to incorporate it into the design of the bridge. If you look at the concrete columns there at the top, it has the same obelisk shape right behind us. Officially, the bridge is named the Leonard P. Zakum Bunker Hill Memorial Bridge. 10 lanes of traffic, as I said, the widest cable-stayed bridge in the world. The building down the road to your left there, that long flat building, that's a nice skating rink. And that sits at the site where the Purity Distilling Company used to be. Early 1900s, Purity used to make alcohol here in Boston. They made alcohol from munition. They also made good old-fashioned Yankee rum. And the main ingredient for these 2 products was molasses. They used so much molasses, they had a giant storage tank just down the road to your left. It stood at 50 feet tall, 282 feet around. On January 15, 1919, the tank was filled to the top. Next block on your left is Faneuil Hall, little red brick building there with a gold cupola, built in 1742 originally. When they built that, it was waterfront property. The other end of that building looked out onto Boston Harbor. The early 1800s, they filled in that section of the harbor, and then they built Quincy Market, which was then the waterfront property. And then they filled in behind that, filled in behind that. I'll tell you more about later.
I think so.
Now, Faneuil Hall itself is known as the Cradle of Liberty. In that building, on the 2nd and 3rd floor, there is an auditorium. They had a lot of events, a lot of meetings, planning the American Revolution in this very building. And for that reason, we call it the Cradle of Liberty. Now, you fast forward 300 years, and what I think is so cool about Faneuil Hall is what they use it for today. if you're a new citizen getting your swearing in ceremony here in Boston, they're going to give it to you right there in Faneuil Hall. How cool is that? In the building that's called the Cradle of Liberty. Imagine getting your citizenship there. I think that would be so neat. The people who live here take it for granted. That's a really special place right there. We're going to come up to stop number 5. Right across from stop 5 is the police car. On a mile belongs to one institution, and that would be the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. You've all heard of MIT, right? MIT.
Oh my God.
School. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. One of the things I've always respected about this school is their dedication to academics. Their admissions policy is spot on. It says, if you don't have good grades, you can't get in. Period. You know, the schools make exceptions to that. Like if your mother or father went there, they consider you legacy, so they let you in, or maybe you have $1 million in donation. Oh, look at the alligator walking down the street.
I know they would.
Never know what they're gonna see. Halloween's close. It's not quite yet. Now, MIT is not the only famous school here in the city. If you go straight down this road another 2 miles, you would come out to the oldest university in the USA, and that would be Harvard. Harvard began in 1636. You know what they called it back then? The college.
No.
Yeah, it was the only one around. So they just called it the college. 2 years after it was opened, they officially named it Harvard College. And they named it after John Harvard. He was a wealthy Puritan minister who, unfortunately for him, passed away at a young age of 1638. But fortunate for the school, he was a generous man, and he decided to help this new college by giving them some money. So he left them half of his money. And on top of that, he gave them an entire library. They're talking 300 books. Doesn't sound like a huge amount in today's world, but in 1638, there was one printing press in this entire town. So getting 300 books was a big hit. The people that were running the school, they were so happy with this generous gift, they decided to name the school after it. So in 1638, they named it Harvard College, now Harvard University. Now, during your visit, if you have time to go check out Harvard, I would highly recommend it. It's well worth it. If all you do is take the subway out there and then just walk around for a half hour and come back, it'd be worth your time. It's really cool. The oldest section of their campus is called Harvard Yard. And they have buildings in Harvard Yard that date back to the early 1700s. It's pretty neat. There's also a statue in the middle of Harvard Yard. And it's a statue of a man underneath whom it reads, John Harvard, founder, 1638. That statue around here is known as the Statue of 3 Lies. Every single statement on that statue is false. He was simply the benefactor. Lie number 2, it was not founded in 1638. That's when they named it. It was founded in 1636. Lie number 3, this one's the best. The man in the statue is not even John Harvard.
What?
Nope, that's not him. And I know what you're thinking, like, what are you talking about? Well, okay, John Harvard died when 1638. In those days, if you want your image to carry on for all eternity, you had to pay somebody to paint your portrait. John Harvard never had a portrait painted. He died young. He didn't have any kids. So instead of making the statue right away, they waited 250 years.
Wow.
Famous sculptor named Mr. Frank. Well, he had nothing to work with. Legend is that the Frank started with Frank. Okay, it gets better. The statue of 3 Lies. Harvard University motto? True. Well, technically the motto is Veritas. So there you go. Alright, this is about as slow as I can go now. If you want to try to take some pictures, you can class. Museum of Science is there on the left. You can see the Buffalo Monument coming into view behind it. And then to the right of it, you can see the bridge with the cable coming down the monument. On the banks of the river, we'll look at the river. Practicing the rowing right now. These are scullers, as they call almost like driving back in time. This is 19th century Boston right here. I want you to look at some of the signage that the shop owners put up. Look on your right here, the leather shop, excuse me, the nail salon has a pair of clippers on this sign, and then the leather shop here has a booth. It's a tradition of hanging images on your signs as you do the service. Let's see the best sign. Look on your right, the chiropractor. There's a spine on this sign. Now this tradition became popular here in the 1800s when the wealthy people of Beacon Hill, which is on your left, would often have servants they would send down here to do the shopping. Of course, the servants would have been illiterate, so to help them out, merchants put pictures on this sign. It's actually an old medieval European tradition, but it became popular here in the 1800s. And this is stop number 7 on the trolley tour. I always get nervous when it's raining out because, people tend to hide in doorways. They don't want to get wet. And then I pull away and I hear somebody yelling from the trolley. What do you think? Isn't this a beautiful street?
It is.
It's really neat. 19th century Boston. Really cool architecture, the beautiful buildings, the unusual signage. Have you noticed the street lights even? Gas. These are gas-powered lights. These are actual gas lights on either side of it. Yep. And they're lit right now, not because it's raining. They are lit because, quite simply, they're always lit.
Oh.
They're lit 24 hours a day. It's kind of like the cab drivers here. They've been lit since here in 1912. 1912, the city accountant figured out it was cheaper to just pay the gas bill than it was to pay the lamplighters who took the lights off and on every day. So they've been lit pretty much non-stop since 1912.
Wow.
You want to see another great sign here on the right, the hardware store has a hammer hanging on this sign.
Oh yeah.
Love this street. I never get tired of this. I've probably driven down the street 1,000 times over my life, and I never get tired of it.
Oh my God, they got Benefit Cosmetics.
Neon signs on the outside of any of these buildings.
Those are my favorite makeup store.
Inside the windows, but nothing on the outside. They try to keep the feel authentic 19th century vibe here. Our next stop is going to be stop 8 just around the corner. We're going to make a right turn onto Beacon Street in just a minute. And we'll go up a little ways, and we'll be at stop 8. I think everything started to turn color. It's just a beautiful time to be here right now. And we're coming into the neighborhood called the Back Bay, and it's so named because this was all water. The water that used to be here was the Charles River, which is still here, but it's over there to your right. If you look past the footbridge, you can see the water. That used to be underneath us. And that water was pretty significant here. It was a giant tidal basin, part of the Charles River. And it would have extended probably about 6 blocks to your left, about 10 blocks in front of us. It was like the shape of a semicircle. They filled it all in beginning in the 1850s. Now, the first thing they did was locate a whole bunch of land to fill this bay in. And they found that land about 12 miles west in a town called Needham Heights. I now call it Needham Flats. They took the land out of Needham by railroad. So in the 1850s, railroads are pretty new at that point. And they would send the trains every 45 minutes from Needham into Boston. Now each train would be about 35 cars, full of dirt. They come downtown Boston, dump the dirt, go back out and get more. And they filled this bay block by block. The scope of this project is almost mind-boggling. This is every 45 minutes, 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. They stop once a year for Christmas. They worked on the project 24/7 for almost 50 years. 50. When they finally finished, they had added over 400 acres of land to downtown Boston. It's going to be a little bumpy here, folks. We're working on this street now for a couple of days, and they've left a few ruts for us to go through. So this one right here is probably the worst one. We'll go slow. So they worked on this 24/7 for almost 50 years. And when they finally finished all the filling, they had successfully added over
Keep running.
I think some of you may have already been there. Logan Airport. Our airport is the largest landfill in the country, Back Bay, second largest. Before you ask the next question, there's a lot to look at down here. Boston Public Library on your left front side. This is the second building for the library, which is the oldest large free-building library in the nation. This particular building, they began construction in the late 1880s. The church on your right that is the mainstay here, this is what everybody wants to see. Trinity Church over here. This was built in 1877, designed by Henry Hobson Richardson. It's still a working Episcopal church. The church on your left, listen to this name, that is called the New Old South Church. Anybody's heard about that? You know why they call it that? Because the Old South is still standing. That is the New Old South. Right? We're going to pull up here to stop 12. There's a statue of a man right here at stop 12, the ninth minister of the congregation, named Solomon First. The statue is here right. I like to joke that that's a life-size statue. It's not, but it's not far off. He was 6'9", he weighed 350 pounds. That's one big creature. Stop 12. Hey folks, stories of glass and steel. This was designed by MIT graduate, world-famous architect Ian Kay. In 1973, the building was near completion. All of a sudden, gale force winds came through Boston. In over a 2-hour period of time, 60 panels of glass crashed into the street. After the first window fell, they roped off the street. Amazingly, no one was hurt. It took them 3 years to figure out what was wrong, fix it, and finally open it. I'm going to tell you what happened in just a second, but I don't want you to miss this opportunity. Every time we drive by this building, something really cool happens. I guarantee it'll happen to you. Take a look to your right. If you wave, you'll see somebody in orange crawling way back. There you go. Look at that. The original selfie right there. See yourself on that troll. Isn't that fun? So the building, it turns out, was designed so that it could move with the wind. But the glass and the fasteners keep the glass in place. Not designed to move with the wind. They had to replace every single panel of glass here. We're talking 10,344 panels of glass. It cost them an additional $7 million to finally open the building. Now, because we're taking this detour, I get to show you my favorite map of the city of Boston. This is so cool. As I make the turn, look on your right on the corner. Here's the map of Boston. So as long as you know your alphabet, you can memorize the ducks. I've memorized them since I was 9 years old. First little duck, his name is Jack. Then it goes cack, lack, knack, knack, whack, pack, and quack. Can you guys do that? Jack, cack, lack, knack, knack, whack, pack, and quack. One more time. Jack, cack, lack, knack, knack, whack, pack, and quack. Okay, I'll give you a break. No Aflac for anybody that wants to say Aflac. We're going to turn right on to Beacon Street, go up and over Beacon Hill. This neighborhood is really still one of the most affluent neighborhoods in the city. All these beautiful buildings you see here. Around 1820, some of these buildings developed around an unusual architectural feature, and that would be purple window panes. Installed as clear glass, sat there exposed to the sunlight until time to turn purple. And at first, the people of Beacon Hill were very upset, but then they changed their mind because they found out it was known as a status symbol. They called it the Lavender Paint of Beacon Hill. You look to your left at number 40. You see purple above the door, to the right of the door, to the right of that, purple, purple, purple. We changed it to lavender. So it turns out that purple was all an accident. The original manufacturer had no idea how he did it. Well, somebody else figured it out. If you put too much manganese oxide in to make sure you get the glass to turn purple. So there are only 6 buildings in this neighborhood Beacon Hill that have that purple glass to this day. Now we're going to be at stop number 14 here in just a moment. It's at the top of Beacon Hill. It is a relocated stop 14 because of construction. So we're going to stop pretty much in the middle of the block up here. Stop number 14. Anybody stepping out up here? Stop for a second, make sure there's nobody running through this with us. See anybody else there? See anybody coming to you? Okay, thanks for your help. On a rainy day, I always get State House is up ahead on your left, red brick gold dome building. We call it the New State House, even though it opened in 1798, just like the new Old South Church. The old State House is still standing, so this is the New State House. That gold dome you see on the top is actually real gold. That's gold leaf paint. Originally, that would have been wooden shingles up there. And the wooden shingles, they didn't last very long, only about 5 years until they started to leak. So they took the wood down, replaced it with copper. Copper supplied by Paul Revere. They put 60 years or so of copper, then they put the gold leaf up there, which is what you see to this day. Now we've just gone over the top of the hill. We're still on Beacon Street. Once we cross Tremont Street, then we get onto School Street. And School Street is so neat because the very first public school of what became the USA would have been down here in 1635. Now that would have been Boston Latin School, and that was 1 year before Harvard University. Boston Latin School still exists, but it's not down here anymore. They moved into the other side of the city, close to Fenway Park. As we come down School Street in just a minute, you will see up on the right the Omni Parker House Hotel. This is the oldest operating hotel in the USA, dating back to 1855. And it is famous for the creation of Parker House Rolls and Boston Cream Pie. A couple of young men worked here that became famous years later. A young man working in the kitchen was attending Harvard University. His name, Ho Chi Minh. Another young man worked here as a busboy who grew up in Boston. At the time, his name was Malcolm Little. You know him better as Malcolm X. See the name on that statue? Benjamin Franklin. Now, some of you are thinking, I thought Ben Franklin was from Philadelphia. Nope. He lived there years later, but he was born right here in Boston. Lived in this very neighborhood. He left Boston for one reason. He hated his brother. Because he worked as an apprentice at the brother's print shop. Couldn't stand his own brother, he called him a tyrant. So he eventually moved to Philadelphia, which I always thought was funny. The city of brotherly love. Ben Franklin hated his own brother. Ben Franklin and his family used to attend services at that church there on your right. So the folks have been with me since probably Square. Remember the new Old South Church? That's the old South Church. Now called the Old South Meeting House. And that meeting house is an important spot in U.S. history. December 16, 1773, a meeting was called at the Old South by the Sons of Liberty, the rebels. They wanted to discuss the fate of the 3 ships that had recently pulled into Boston Harbor. The ships are named the Eleanor, the Beaver, and the Dowd. What do you think the ships were full of? Tea. Of course, we're going to talk about the Boston Tea Party.
Yes.
That
These are the lobsters, the oysters, which I think they're the babies from California. With the ham chowder. My dear Lord. I think I found my new town to live. It's amazing.
eat it.
She slurped the whole out of that. Well, why are you tapping me?
Oh.
We don't eat it with ketchup here though.
You just need some salt, but other than that, the ham chowder.
They don't test like the buffets, I've been told. Like they're mini, like they're little tiny. She's crying because the food tastes so good. And I agreed. I don't like seafood, but this clam chowder is
Let me
amazing.
taste it with a little bit of Tabasco. My last one.
Show the Tabasco.
Look at the Tabasco that they give you.
Flavor your world.
It's so tangy.
Tabasco. Not sponsored.
You just don't want to know how much work this is.
It's a restaurant right next
Put it.
to the Aquarium of Boston. And we're right next to the beach, but since we're inside because it's raining. We're inside because it's raining,
Is it good?
but we're still social distancing.
Thank you. Oh dear Lord.
Okay guys, we'll see you.
This is worth It's worth it. We'll come back with the main dish.
So our
Get the GoPro.
main course arrived.
Hey guys, so I got, of course, my Maine lobster. I think I forgot to tell him to bring in some lemon.
Oh, I got the 7-ounce. What is it again?
Filet mignon.
Filet mignon. And look at this. Look at this. It bounces back.
And we're like, happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to
Again?
Kathy.
To me. Okay, well. So we're gonna eat now. And wish us luck.
Alright, let's get it.
'Cause
Let's get it. Oh, y'all want to see the cut half? The cut section? Is it juicy?
Bombed in. We are outside our hotel.
This is better for me.
No, it's better, but I can't reach it.
It's cute. The ocean. What ocean is this?
It's the Atlantic Ocean.
Atlantic. We're staying at this hotel. They have 3 hotels of this. I think if you see on the map, you could search our hotel.
Don't get too close, don't drop it.
Ooh, darkness. It's cute. The sky is so much different here for some reason. It looks so much closer. It looks so much closer as the sky. Look, Leo's. You can't really see him. We're really full. We walked to the restaurant. Well, from the restaurant to the hotel, which is not that far. It's like a, I think it was like, how much did we walk? Like a 10-minute walk. Really relaxing. Fall colors are amazing here. The tree. So yeah, this is pretty.